Councillor Kelly, thank you very much for joining us right now. I want to begin with your reaction to the news.
Well, I'm saddened. Here was a man who went through hell personally and worked hard to rehabilitate his life, not only for himself, but for his family, and I guess ultimately for his political career. And then, having gone through that, worked so hard to do that, to meet this fate just doesn't seem fair.
It doesn't.
I feel very sad for him, of course, for his family, his immediate family, his mom, his brothers. This just isn't right.
Well, of course, you were put in a very difficult position, too, because after all the controversy around Rob Ford regarding his drug use, the incidents that were caught on video, the city council in Toronto passed on his duties to you. What was your relationship like with Rob Ford after that essential handover of power?
Well, I didn't work with him because the transfer wouldn't have made sense if I did. But I didn't take him on. I didn't criticize him. I didn't work against him. Anytime that there had to be some sort of exchange, we talked to each other, pleasantly, professionally.
Mm-hmm. And, I also want to ask you, because you sat in council with Rob Ford, you've essentially followed him in office after all the controversy. How will you remember him? Yes, he has his critics, but there are those who, as I was saying to Jamie Strachan here, who covered city council for CBC for so long, a lot of people do have great respect for the man to this day and love him to this day. How will you remember Rob Ford?
He was passionate about politics. He was passionate about people. He did more than just return phone calls about things that were happening on one street or another, or in front of one house or another. He did actually have well thought out, articulated positions on important policy issues. The TTC as an essential service, for example. The privatization of garbage collection west of Yonge Street. The reorganization of the Toronto community housing. Support for the Island Airport and the tunnel, subways. So he had that big picture in mind as well. And I would hope that people would remember that side of him and a serious attempt by him to promote that agenda, because in the end he felt that it was the best agenda for the people of Toronto. We always had their concerns uppermost in his heart.
Now, of course, we have been waiting for this sad news because we got an indication from Rob Ford's family that his health was not good late last week. Has City Council discussed how they are going to pay tribute to Rob Ford? Do you know what will happen in the next few hours, days?
No, it's premature. I think this has set a lot of people back on their heels.
Well, Mr. Kelly, I want to thank you very much. I appreciate that this is not an easy time to reach out to you, but I do appreciate that you spend time speaking with us. That is former...
You're welcome. I regret the circumstance.
As do I. Okay. That is former Deputy Mayor Norm Kelly speaking to us on the phone in Toronto. Jamie, just before we wrap up, I want to turn to you here. When you hear Norm Kelly, the man who essentially took over the role of mayor as Rob Ford held the title but not the power, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think Councillor Kelly makes, a number of interesting points there, and he was, thrust in, first off, to one of the most chaotic political situations one could ever imagine. But before everything kind of fell apart for Rob Ford, before the drugs and the scandal, he kind of pointed to a number of policy achievements. The first year and a half, whether you agreed with them or not, the city was moving on things. You had the garbage, you had the vehicle registration tax, you had the essential service of the TTC. He was moving forward. Unfortunately, the wheels fell off about a year and a half in, and we all know how this story ended. But some interesting observations there from Councillor Kelly, definitely pointing to some of the policy achievements that Rob Ford had before things fell apart as we know they did.
How do you think he'll be remembered?
I think, he's a unique politician, and I don't say that lightly. I mean, people in this city seem to have a tremendous amount of time and sympathy and interest in this man. I've never seen such intense interest in a Canadian politician, and obviously the scandal fed a lot of that. But, I go back to what I said before. I think he has reawakened an interest in City Hall, an awareness in City Hall, the role the institution plays in this city, and I think that's a pretty good legacy.